Hey everyone, Sam here, otherwise known as FPL Pricey. Game week 13 seems to be a pretty popular week to be hitting the free hit chip. So in today's video, I will be taking a look at all of the best teams and players to be targeting ahead of game week 13. Of course, having a look at a free hit draft that I've put together as well. And finally, whether or not it might be right to use the free hit for your team. Welcome back to another video. Now, before we get started by taking a look at the goal projections and the clean sheet odds for game week 13 in isolation, a big ask from me, if you are new around here and you did enjoy today's video, I'd massively appreciate it if you could hit like, but importantly, hit that subscribe button. I'm so close to 5,000 subscribers. You might be even the one that pushes me over the edge. So if you could do that, only if you enjoy the video, that would be massively appreciated. Let's start off by taking a look at the goal projections ahead of game week 13. I've taken the data from Solio, which is a fantastic tool. The link is in the description below. I would highly recommend going and checking it out. And it is up to date with live market odds and data. So, top of the list right now, no surprises to see Man City 2.44 expected goals against Leeds at home. It's obviously a very good fixture. And what I usually look for in these kind of data points is any team above 2 expected goals to be really going after their attack and targeting them. Now, no surprises that Haaland will appear in the draft later on, but this maybe does inform my decisions on who might be making up the rest of that attack. Maybe another Man City player is a wise decision considering the upside that they do hold. Liverpool are also above 2 XG projection. Of course, it might go completely wrong, but they are expected to do pretty well against West Ham on the underlying data, 2.09. And of course, it is, again, just subjectively quite a good fixture. Of course, Salah's going to be popular. He is very expensive, but I think on a free hit, it seems sensible to maybe try and squeeze him in as well. We'll talk about that later on. But also, is there an argument to go with double Liverpool attack, considering they have been faltering at the back a little bit, but of course are projected to do pretty well against West Ham, who are not a watertight defence by any means. A little bit further down, but also ranking pretty highly, the likes of Brentford and Aston Villa, both expected around about 1.9 expected goals. Brentford at home to Burnley and Wolves at home for Villa, both good fixtures. And again, teams that will probably want to be targeting on a free hit. After those top 4, it gets a little bit more difficult to pick out the exact teams that you're expecting hauls from, but I wouldn't disregard any of the teams in this little pile beneath them. So you've got Crystal Palace, Spurs, Arsenal, Man United, Bournemouth, even down to teams like Brighton and Newcastle. Chelsea are all the way down at 1.19. I think they're ranked 15th, 16th in the table there, but I wouldn't be massively shocked to see them get something. Of course, it is against Arsenal, so not an easy game. But all I'd say here is the free hit looks good on paper this week, and we've got a few teams that we don't have a lot of coverage in that are expected to do quite well, and therefore it makes sense to free hit them in. But I wouldn't disregard the teams that maybe we do actually have quite a few players from in our teams, Arsenal and Crystal Palace especially. They're not expected to do awfully, especially from the projected goal point of view here. So would I be surprised if the likes of Saka or Munoz or Mateta, Sarr punish us in game week 13, given the fixtures that they've got? No, not at all. So if you're more of a conservative manager and you're still looking at free hitting, then I'd still have them in the consideration set at least, because they could still do well and it would be more of a gut thing as to whether or not you want to include them. For now though, let's move past this and take a look at the clean sheet projections. Okay, so the clean sheet odds do paint a similar picture to the goal projections. Obviously, they've got the same teams to play, so you'd expect similar teams to be ranking fairly highly. But there is one notable dropout here, or one that reduces in the rankings compared to their goal projections. That is Liverpool, who go down to 31% away at West Ham for a clean sheet. Now, obviously, they're expected to do well from a goals point of view, but the clean sheet odds, you're expecting, if this game was played 100 times, less than 1 in 3 to end up in a clean sheet for Liverpool. So it can still happen. Van Dijk could be a decent pick, but considering the price point, I think in my draft, he's not personally in. He can make it into drafts, but I think there are other ways to be spending the money. And again, I'd probably prioritize the Liverpool attack over the defense at time of recording. Man City do rank highly though. They're top of both charts, so 47% chance of a clean sheet. So again, I'd want some coverage in the Man City defense. Brentford and Villa, both north of 40%. Again, a bit like the over 2 goals projection in the first spreadsheet that I mentioned, over a 40% clean sheet projection is what I tend to look out for as a standout good fixture. So Villa, Brentford, Man City look like good defenses to be targeting this week. But again, I wouldn't massively discount those in the buckets between 31 and 25%. That's not awful odds of a clean sheet. So even Palace down at 24%. Could they keep a clean sheet at home to Man United? Absolutely they could. So I wouldn't disregard them altogether. Arsenal, again, matching Liverpool in terms of the percentage chance of a clean sheet. Maybe you want to look at holding on to an Arsenal player in the defence, especially considering they do have high ownership, and anyone who's not free hitting is going to still have those players. They're going to have Raya, they're going to have Timber, Calafiori. Same with Crystal Palace. They're going to have Munoz, Lacroix, Guéhi. The list goes on. Now, there are advantages to be gained by going against those players because they are high owned, and you can find better odds of a clean sheet and better goal projections elsewhere this week. But don't be massively surprised if one or two of them also still do really well this week. In fact, all of them could, because they're good players and from good teams. So every week, a free hit is a risk in the first half of the season, because we're not in the second half of the season where you free hit into a double or a blank game week where you can really maximize the upside. You're still going 11 against 11. So your old team could outscore your new one, but you're playing the odds here. And if you're doing so, and if you are looking at free hitting this week, I think the teams towards the top of this graphic are the ones you want to be targeting, because you're playing a little bit of a lottery with a free hit. You want to increase your odds as much as possible. So the teams like Man City, Brentford, Aston Villa, that aren't that highly owned outside of the people who will be free hitting, and that won't be everyone, by the way. That looks likely to be something between 20 and 30% of the player base, and that's of the engaged crowd. You could gain a massive advantage if those players do well. So don't be massively afraid. But again, of course, the players down beneath those top three could still do well. So again, if you're a conservative manager, have them in the consideration set. Okay, enough talking about the data. Let's take a look at what will be the most popular section in the video, I'm sure, my free hit draft for Game Week 13. Right then, so I just want to mention at the very start of this section, if you're tuning in now, please do leave a like, hit subscribe if you enjoyed the video. But the other thing, I've very intentionally not gone and watched any other content creators' free hit drafts. There seem to be so many. And again, I'm sorry if I'm just adding noise and I've ended up on a draft that's very similar. I get the feeling that it will probably look a little bit like this for a lot of managers, but I've intentionally not, just to maybe shield me against just groupthink. But again, I would not be surprised if this looks like a pretty solid and popular structure. So if it's a bit template, I do apologize, but hopefully I've got a couple in here that others aren't considering. I don't know. Let's start off with in goal. Kelleher, for me, does seem like the standout pick. Burnley at home. Burnley are really struggling for goals at the moment. Kelleher also has a very good penalty save record, which I wouldn't normally account for when picking a goalkeeper. But on a free hit, I just want to take those little margins. And if Burnley do get a penalty, I'd back Kelleher to do something with that. And you do want to spike a big haul. Kelleher, for me, seems like the keeper most likely to do so, gets a few save points, and also very good odds of a clean sheet, as we mentioned a moment ago. Into my defense, I've gone with maybe not the most aggressive free hit defense, because I've also included Munoz, who might not be very popular on a free hit. Again, I'm not sure, but I would personally still want him for the attacking upside that he holds. He is such an advanced defender. He's almost playing right wing for Palace at times. And on a free hit, I think it would either be him or Timber that I include. Now, given Timber has Chelsea away and it's a pretty tough fixture, I think I would go for Munoz at home. Man United struggled to break down Everton in game week 12, even with 10 men. Palace are, whether or not they're a stronger defence than Everton is up for debate, but they're certainly on par, if not slightly better. And Munoz is more attacking than any of the Everton defenders. And at home, at Selhurst Park, I back him to do something. So I do want to include him on a free hit draft. The other two are fixture plays. Obviously, we mentioned the clean sheet odds in the last section. So I've gone with Cash, whose minutes look really secure. Digne, I wouldn't mind going with him, but I am always just a little bit worried about the minutes for him. So I've gone with Cash. He's got good attacking upside. Villa across the board are not good on the defensive contribution. So you're not gaining anything extra by going with someone like a Konza. So I'm going to go for the attacking upside. And against Wolves at home, I think he's got a decent chance of clean sheeting and maybe getting an attacking return. Similar for O'Reilly. Now, O'Reilly is probably probably the biggest risk in my entire team. And as you can see, I don't have much bench depth, although Mukiele is probably okay at home to Bournemouth, worst case scenario. After that, GU and Heaven, they're not going to get minutes or many minutes at all. So this does seem like putting all the eggs in the starting 11. And if one of them misses out, then you have got problems. But O'Reilly has been getting very good minutes recently. I think he started 8 of the last 9 Premier League games. It's a good fixture. As we've seen, they've got the best chance of a clean sheet, and he is the cheapest way into the Man City defence. He also has a decent amount of attacking upside too. So I think I would take a punt on him. Now, if you've got more money in the bank than I do, and as you can see, this would be exact money for me, 0.0 in the bank. If you've got a bit more, I would have a look at going with someone a bit more expensive from Man City, but again, more secure to start, like Ruben Diaz, maybe like a Gvardiol. But I'm happy enough with O'Reilly, and I think the upside is worth the risk. Into the midfield, this is where I've got the Liverpool players. I didn't want to have Van Dijk in the back line because, again, it just makes everything a little bit less affordable. And the clean sheet odds aren't even that standout amazing either way. So I think I would go without Van Dijk to use the funds elsewhere. Mo Salah is in. You could look at captaining him, but given Haaland has a great home fixture against Leeds, arguably even one for the non-free hitters to be looking at a triple captaincy week, I don't think it's worth going against the crowd on that one. I can see Haaland absolutely hauling. But Salah could also obviously do very well against West Ham. I would absolutely include him on a free hit. And the rest of the 11 is still pretty affordable with both of them in. And given the other most expensive players that we're considering at the moment, Palmer probably won't play, or if he does, no one's going to own him anyway, and it's against Arsenal, so I wouldn't be too worried. Then you've got Saka away at Chelsea. I think you can go without him on a free hit. Obviously, he could do well, but let's take those risks. I think on a free hit, that makes sense to go with Salah against West Ham over Saka against Chelsea. And then Bruno Fernandes is the other one. And he's got Crystal Palace away, not an easy fixture. So I think given that some of the other expensive players have tougher fixtures, it is worth using that money and spending it on Mo Salah. After that, I have also got Gakpo. Now, this is the position that is causing me a bit of grief because I'm not massively confident on Gakpo's minutes. He's not great with the baseline bonus points either. So even if he gets an attacking return, he's probably not going to get those bonus points unless he gets 2 attacking returns. But it is a good fixture. His minutes haven't been bad. And if Wirtz is out this game week as well, obviously we don't have any more information yet. But if he is out for this week, Gakpo's minutes on the left should be relatively secure. That being said, if you've got less money in the bank than me, I think the first downgrade I'd make to this entire 11 would be the Gakpo position, and I'd probably take him down to Szoboszlai. Saves you another million or so, and of course that makes other things a little bit affordable. You can then upgrade your bench a little bit, give you a bit more depth, so I don't mind that at all. But given this is a free hit team, I think it is worth attacking the upside, and Gakpo undoubtedly has that with the underlying data that he has, and if he gets good minutes, I'm pretty sure he will. I don't see any real reason why he shouldn't get good minutes against West Ham. I can see him returning. So moving on to the rest of the midfield, let's start off with that Man City player. I've gone with Foden, again, because I can only just afford him. The underlying data is not amazing, though, so far this season. And of course, the returns haven't been as brilliant as they have been in recent seasons. But his minutes are good, and it is a great home fixture. So I think I would take the leap of faith on him. I think I would back him. You could look at going with someone cheaper like a Doku or maybe a Cherki, but I just don't love the minutes. They're looking at 70 minutes each at the moment, and that's if they even start. With 3 games in the space of a week for Man City, I would not be surprised if either one of them misses out this one against Leeds. And if that happens, that is kind of a missed opportunity on a free hit when you could go after another Man City attacker who's going to get good minutes. Now, do I expect Phil Foden to absolutely haul against Leeds and it to be season defining for him and he'll go on a little run after this? I'm not massively confident, but I'm more confident on him than I am with the other Man City attackers, especially because of the minutes. And I do want to try and utilize the goal projection data that we saw for Man City. 2.44 is way above any other team this week. So I do want to take advantage of that because everyone is going to be captaining Haaland. So his ownership is going to be almost to a point where the points that you get out of him are irrelevant. So having that double attack and going after someone with good minutes seems like a good route to getting the most out of Man City. Rodgers, I've also included. Now, Aston Villa's goal projections are decent, but they're not outstanding. Rodgers' data is honestly quite terrible for a player of his price. So I probably wouldn't go as far to pick him as an FPL pick week to week. But on a free hit, I think you do attack the upside, you do attack the fixture, and given he's just bagged a brace, maybe his tail's up a little bit and he's going to go on a little bit of a run, who knows? But I would be, again, going after that Villa midfield, and I don't have a space for Ollie Watkins up front. His data's not been good either, and he's way more expensive. So Rodgers is a cheaper route into that Aston Villa attack. I might have been tempted to go with a Marlon or a Buendia, but neither of their minutes look secure either. Rodgers, a bit like Foden, I know the minutes are going to be good, and if he's staying on the pitch for 90 minutes, that gives him the best possible chance of getting returns during that game. And if Watkins was in any better form, I'd be tempted to go there, but given the price, it makes other things a little bit unaffordable, and I would be compromising elsewhere. Rodgers does fit snugly into this 11, so he's in. And finally, I've gone with Sharda, just to double up on the Brentford attack. I do think that Thiago is going to be very highly owned on a free hit, so I want to try and take advantage of what is a very good fixture by also going with either Dango or Sharda. I've gone with Sharda. He's a bit more expensive, and Dango looks like maybe the more explosive of the two. But Sharda equally has got a history of getting good amounts of attacking returns, and his minutes do look more secure than Dango. So if you can afford it, I'd go with Sharda. If you can't, I don't mind Dango Atara at all. Up top, I don't think we even really need to talk about it. Haaland, captain, obvious. At home to Leeds, I expect him to do very well. And then Thiago at home to Burnley. I think everyone is going to have those two up top. Like I said, I haven't checked out other free hit drafts, but I'd be willing to wager that every single one of them has these two up front. Maybe some of them have a third striker that I'm not thinking about right now. Maybe Mateta comes into the thinking for a few, but these two certainly. So I wouldn't be overthinking it there. Now, as we wrap up today's video, I massively appreciate it if you could leave a like, hit subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back with you in a couple of days as we run through my team selection ahead of Game Week 13. Of course, I won't be on free hit, so it's going to take a little bit of a different shape to this.